Hey everyone, happy today. Hope you're doing well. So we're going to be making a big old drawing of everything involved in photosynthesis. Before we do that, I'd like to go over the major parts and processes involved in this. So let's start first with the parts. So the chloroplast, that's the organelle in which photosynthesis is actually occurring. So that's the sort of greenish structure that we see in plants and certain types of uh, organelles like euglena and other protists. Okay. The thylakoids are membranes found within the chloroplast. And these thylakoids are important because that is where the light reactions occur. The thylakoids have the green pigment that actually make the chloroplast green. Chlorophyll is that pigment, and chlorophyll is important because as a pigment, it absorbs light energy. And when it absorbs that light energy, it excites electrons that end up getting passed on the electron transport chain. In terms of the parts that are involved in all this stuff, that includes the photosystems. The photosystems are clusters or complexes of proteins that hold the chlorophyll and then pass those electrons along to one another. The electron transport chain is the group of proteins involved that end up shuttling those electrons. And the stroma is the fluid inside the chloroplast in which this stuff happens. NADPH, it's a sort of a cousin to NADH that we learned about in cellular respiration. This is also an electron carrier that takes electrons from chlorophyll and their associated protons and then up shuttling them onto enzymes involved in the Calvin cycle used to actually make sugars. Okay, in terms of the processes that are involved, the light reactions, well, they use light. And what happens is those photosystems, those protein complexes embedded in the thylakoid membrane, they have the chlorophyll, which absorbs that light energy. When light strikes the chlorophyll molecules, electrons in chlorophyll get excited. They get passed on the electron transport chain, and the electrons and protons get sent on to NADPH. Now, when chlorophyll loses those electrons, they have to be replaced. So that's where water comes in. When water is split, the electrons from water get returned to chlorophyll or get given to chlorophyll, and then the protons begin to accumulate and create a gradient. That gradient is used to power ATP synthase to spin, and you actually make some ATP. So when it's all said and done, the light reactions end up producing NADPH from the electrons stripped away from chlorophyll, ATP used from the proton gradient created by the breaking splitting of water, and then oxygen, which is just a waste product of this particular set of reactions. Of course, oxygen is critical to cellular respiration, but oxygen is produced as a waste product in photosynthesis. Now, what do we do with the ATP and NADPH from the light reactions? Well, that's where the Calvin cycle comes in. I remember the Calvin cycle just because of the C's. You got Calvin cycle. It's about carbon fixation. So with the Calvin cycle, you take carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, attach it to molecules existing in the chloroplast, and then you use the ATP and NADPH to rearrange that molecule into little sugars that ultimately become the foods we eat. All right. So that's just an overview of what happens with photosynthesis. What we'll do next is put together the larger video where we draw everything. All right. Thank you much.